Hey everyone, Mr. Happy here and welcome to my guide to Xelphatol, one of the two new expert dungeons in patch 3.4. You will unlock this dungeon as part of the 3.4 main scenario quest, and it requires a minimum item level of 210 to enter. It will reward item level 235 armor, as well as elegant tomestones of lore and scripture. This dungeon is broken up into 3 bosses and some trash in between. To skip to a specific boss, please use the annotations in the top left hand of the video. The start of Xelphatol is made up of 2 halves that are sectioned off by killing enemies in your path. To help kill these enemies faster, boulders drop from the sky on random party members that, if dropped on enemies, will cause them to take more damage. Try to stack these AoEs under large groups of mobs to help speed things up. Other than that, the mobs in this pack are fairly standard, so plow through them and on to the first boss. The first boss of Xelphatol is Nuzal Hilluck. And other than one mechanic, he's pretty straightforward. Hard-hitting tank ability, AoEs, and some other standard stuff. Shortly into the fight, he'll cast Lift and become untargetable before summoning 3 adds. You'll want to deal with the 2 Ixali Stitchers first before turning your attention to the floating turret. When the floating turret dies, it uses Hot Blast, which knocks up every player and deals some damage. Your goal is to have one player stand in the swirling vortex under Nuzal so that when Hot Blast knocks you up, it also knocks Nuzal out of the air so you continue to fight him. If you miss Nuzal, another floating turret will spawn that you'll have to kill. For the rest of the fight, Nuzal goes back to being mostly standard, though he does summon 2 air stones at one point that will make him invincible until you kill them. Just dispose of the air stones and then continue to damage Nuzal and deal with any damage he does to you. Long Burst is the only real attack you may not have seen yet. It just puts a dot on a random target and that can be removed. Just beat him up and move on to the next part of the dungeon. The second stretch of trash in this dungeon has a few traps to watch out for, but nothing severe. There's spiked floors that greatly increase your damage taken, as well as goobos that are going to try to knock you into said floor traps. Other than that, it's mostly just a beautiful stretch of dungeon, so take in some scenery, kill some Ixal and goobos, and move on to the second boss. The second boss is Dotoli Salak, and he requires slightly better positioning than the first boss. He has a cleave attack on the tank that you can dodge, and note that his arena has spikes all along the outside. Take note of the 4 barricades in the intercardinal directions of the room as well, as you'll need them for the fight. Whenever Dotoli casts on high, he'll knock everyone back towards the wall. If you're not standing with a barricade in between you and the wall, you'll be knocked into the spike traps, so position yourself in front of a barricade to avoid this happening. You may occasionally see Dotoli mark a player and shoot a tornado at them. The tornado itself deals some damage over time, but more importantly is that they linger on the arena for a pretty long time after placed. You'll want to drop them away from the barricades, which can sometimes be tough because at one point he'll use on high and try to place a tornado at the same time. If your timing is good, you can place the tornado just outside of the barricade's range and then get into range of the barricade so you don't get knocked back into the spikes. His final attack is Swift Feather, which is just a buff that causes his next cleave to be nearly instant. It is possible to dodge even when it's almost instant, but it's best to just pop a cooldown and take the hit. This boss is a bit more involved than most dungeon bosses, but just take your time, take him down slow, and move on to the final portion of Xelphatol. The last bit of trash is mostly generic Ixal, and a couple of birds. They come out of these war balloons that you'll want to focus down, because if you don't, they constantly shuffle more Ixal in to fight you. If you don't fight them fast enough, they'll actually fly away to go get the Ixal, so you'll also have to wait like 20 seconds while they go get more Ixal and come back to you. Just slow and annoying, so make them your priority. The first pull you'll do will have 1 war balloon, and the second will have 2 war balloons. Just get past those, pick up the items they drop, and move forward. Before the final boss, there's actually a mini-boss in this dungeon, the Xelphatol Skycaller and an Abalathian Hornbill. They aren't really difficult, just watch for the tornado cast from the Skycaller, which deals moderate damage to whoever he casts it on. Take him down and it's on to the final boss. The final boss of Xelphatol is Tozal Huatotl. For the most part, this fight just requires players to avoid AoEs, though in a variety of different patterns. There will be 1 split damage AoE you need to deal with, as well as a set of 4 markers that means you need to spread out. You guys have seen all these mechanics before. Stack together for the split damage AoE, spread out for everyone having their own individual markers. The spread out mechanic does get a little trickier when Tozal summons Garuda into the fight. The first time he summons her, only the center of the room will be safe, and then Garuda will also do a conal AoE in the direction of a random player. Just squeeze in with what remaining space is there and just make sure not to overlap. The second time he summons Garuda, she will do a donut-shaped AoE, which again just means you need to spread out within the unmarked area. After she does the donut AoE, she will use Aerial Blast, which hits quite hard in an AoE, and you just need to heal through it. It's a fairly simple fight, and honestly, the second boss probably required more coordination. So just dodge the AoEs, heal through what you need to, and kill Big Daddy Bird for an easy clear. And that's my guide to Xelphatol. Pretty simple dungeon. Be sure to like, favorite, subscribe, and share for more Final Fantasy XIV content, and be sure to check out the other content on my channel. Anyway, thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one, and until then, take care.